Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 192 of the Runnin the Paint podcast. I'm Miles here with Ben, Joey, and Nick. Guys, how are you doing today?
Feeling good, feeling great. We're all dressed up, not so nice today. You know what time it is, everybody.
Yeah, super happy to be here with you guys for our third time doing this. I'm gonna follow along, and just excited to do it.
Award season, baby. It's the Runnin the Paint award show for the 2025-26 season. Ben, we're happy to have you here. It's been great having you on for as a full-time member this season. And Ben, it is first real award show with us, so this is going to be a lot of fun to go over everything. Ben, how are you feeling today?
Feeling good, and the viewers should be in for a treat for this one. This is one of the more exciting episodes that comes up yearly on the Runnin the Paint podcast.
100%. Incredible to even think this is the final podcast of the regular season. And man, there is still so much to be determined with every team having, it looks like 2 games remaining in the regular season schedule. So before we get into our awards, where we are, handing out the awards for all the major ones this season, including, a special Runnin the Paint exclusive one, we'll take a look at some big storylines to watch for heading into the final weekend of the regular season. So it should be a lot of fun. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for, NBA postseason content coming to you basically every day when we get the recaps back going for the playoffs. So let's get started off with POELTL, final POELTL of the regular season. We're going to start off by having a pool party. Jordan Poole, who had a 30-point game earlier this week. Let's see what that can get us. All right, it's just going to be a 26-year-old in the Eastern Conference that's a forward.
All right, let's log in, boys. We need a 3-ball here. We always said that 3 or less was shooting par. So you got to lock in and figure out who's 26 and East, that's a forward.
I would agree. Now, so the first thing I'll say, I don't know if this will help, but this could, start to narrow things down. Jordan Poole was in the 2019 draft class, at 26 years old. So we could see if that, gets us anywhere. Now, I'm not an expert with college basketball. Did Jordan Poole only play? How many years did Jordan Poole play at Michigan before coming to the league?
I would imagine he was a one-and-done guy.
I think he was only a one-and-done.
Okay. So a forward in the Eastern Conference that could be 26 years old. First player that comes to my mind, I'm not sure if the height would, fit, but that is R.J. Barrett, on the Raptors. He could be considered a guard forward. I'm trying to think. Can you guys think of any big guys that it could be that could fit that criteria?
I know RJ's right around there because he was 2018, so he could definitely be 26 or 27. It's hard to remember. There's so much turnover in the league that even, what are we talking, 6 years ago?
Yeah, I'm trying to think in the 19 draft. I'm trying to think of the 2019 draft, what big guys went early that could still be in the Eastern Conference. We could go RJ to see if that can narrow down our division first.
I like RJ, yeah.
I don't know about the jersey number, though, with him, but
I think he's number 9.
Right.
Let's go with it. RJ Barrett. Oh, he's on the Raptors.
Nice.
Big man on the Toronto Raptors.
They're all the
wow,
same
that's
age.
Double digits.
Would that be Sandro?
Oh my gosh, it's Mamu Kilishvili. This could be.
Because I know he came in later, but he was overseas, right?
Dude, I think that might be what we have to go with. I'm trying to think of other options. That's all I'm thinking of. Let's go. We're gonna go with
it.
Yeah, I like it.
No!
I thought everything but the number.
Oh, that is a heartbreaker.
Who sells
Try
6'9"?
Ingram.
No, but he's not a center. A 6'9" center?
Center, yeah, you're right.
Oh, McCogue. His initials are JM. Justin.
I know. Jonathan Mogbo. Is he 26? I'm not sure. The centers on their team, they have Jakob Poeltl, who's not 6'9", Colin Murray Boyles, who's not 26 years old, They have Trace Jackson Davis, who I don't think is 6'9".
He's
He
also
might be.
can't be 26. He's only been in the league for
No,
3
he was a
years.
4-year guy at college.
That might be right.
Okay.
This might be it. Ben has been trying to get Trace Jackson Davis for a little while here. Ben, I think we might have our guy here. Do we want to try him?
Yeah.
All right, let's go with it. Trace Jackson Davis, and we got it. Finally got in 4. Dude, I think that counts as a 3, though. I mean, Mamu, he qualified for everything.
Ugh.
Everything. But in the end, we get Trace Jackson Davis in 4. Let us know how long it took you guys to get TJD. But now let's get into some of these major storylines heading into the final weekend of the regular season, and a majority of them can be found in the Eastern Conference. The NBA did a great job with their scheduling this season to put a lot of big games, this week. Let's start off with Boston versus New York. That was on Thursday night. Such a big game between the 2-seeded Celtics, the 3-seeded Knicks. The Knicks trying to stay the 3 seed, the Celtics trying to clinch the 2 seed. And in this game, Jaylen Brown did not play for Boston. New York had their, regular rotation in there. And New York came up with a big victory, 112-106. They got it done in the clutch and were able to make a lot of big shots, led by Josh Hart with 26 points and 5 threes. And they were able to defeat the Celtics here in a huge game, Ben, where the seeding, it feels like it might be determined that New York is, the 3 seed, Boston the 2 seed. But with this win, there is still a slight chance that New York can catch them.
Yeah, I saw with the standing scenario that the Celtics would have to lose their last 2. Knicks would have to win their last 2 to still get the 2 seed. I guess like if they were tied in the standings, the Knicks would have the tiebreakers. So still a little chance. And that's a great game right there. Back and forth for a while. It's nice to see Tatum, in this return to the Garden after, that injury last year, still come out and have a nice game. But it was tough for the Celtics. They didn't have Jaylen Brown, but put up a good effort without Brown. And the Knicks found a way to, come up big with Vanderbilt with, the Josh Hart freeze, and then the Knicks didn't allow a whole lot of points in this game. So the defense seemed to be good, and I think that's a good confidence booster win for the Knicks, even though the Celtics didn't have Brown. But this will give them confidence a bit if they played in the second round, which could possibly happen.
Yeah, Nick, what were some of your biggest takeaways from this big-time victory from the Knicks?
Well, Josh Hart's making me look good after picking him for the Heart, Hustle, Selflessness Award in our last episode. He must have heard that he got that honor, so he played well for me. And maybe I'm just totally kidding, but it was a great sort of old school, almost style basketball game. It was very defensive, rugged, 112-106, which is pretty low scoring for this day and age. But I saw that there was 16 lead changes in this game, and neither team had a lead larger than 10. I mean, that's a fantastic game to watch. That hopefully, yeah, Ben, you said it. The Knicks can carry some confidence into possible second-round matchup with the team that looks like they're the favorite to come out the East. Not a great game from Towns. Obviously, they're going to need him to be bigger than he's been all year for them, really.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to rely on Josh Hart hitting 5 threes. Like at the end of the
I'll
game,
keep giving him
Joey.
awards if he does.
Well, yeah, very true. Nick will have a lot of awards to give out for Josh Hart. But what we were seeing at the end of games is what you're going to see, in playoff games and what we've been seeing in previous years in New York Knicks games in the clutch. Jalen Brunson is an incredible clutch basketball player. A former clutch player of the year winner. Might talk about him later on in our awards show. So what teams are going to do? Try to get the basketball out of his hands. And if you're the Knicks, typically it ends up in the hands of Josh Hart. If he's making these threes, I don't think there's a world where you beat them. But if you're New York, you can't be, relying on him to make 5 threes like this.
No, you can't. Any team is probably gonna, if you're getting the ball out of Josh or Jalen Brunson's hands and it's going to Josh Hart, usually the team is gonna live with that because they rather have it not in Cat's hands or someone who, in my opinion, I've been pretty critical of, and I've always wanted to see more, is Mikal Bridges. Like, we talked about how the one time he had a really good game that they're going to need him to step up, and this would have been a perfect game without Jaylen Brown there. Like, he's still a really good defender. He still made it tough on Jason Tatum, because I think that's who he was guarding, him or OG Anunoby. But Tatum just hasn't been efficient, so I don't really look at that. But I'm with Nick. I need Cat to step up. I need Mikal to step up if they're going to do this, because most teams are going to let Josh Hart, because he can only do this once in a blue moon kind of thing. He's a great player, and I love Josh Hart, but like, it's not like you're going to get that 4 to 5 times in a 7-game series.
He's definitely shooting it close to 40% over the last month now, because he was at 38 in March.
You could get,
He has these games where he makes like a lot, but he doesn't necessarily shoot with volume. But he does get these sort of games where teams load up on Jaylen, and he's been hitting them recently. But like, I agree with you guys that like in a playoff series, that's not, you don't want that to be, what you're dependent upon.
You don't want him to be your second option necessarily. Like, if him shooting 40% is your third or fourth option, that's really, really good. But if that's your second option, if Jalen Brunson doesn't have the ball in his hands, and Cat's not having a good game, and Mikal hasn't had anything going offensively, and you have to do Josh Hart or OG Anunoby, like, it's not necessarily the game plan. You'll take it where you can, but like, you're not going to win 4 games with that. You can maybe win 1 or 2, I think, like that in a 7-game series.
Yeah, Ben, you have any, overall thoughts in the conversation?
Well, I agree, like, guys consistently step up, like Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges, and it hasn't always been consistent as of late, so we'll see if they can do that in the playoffs, which we know they need, and I think the Knicks, just gotta work on, getting even more cleaner with their stuff and just having everything they need fixed by the time the playoffs start up.
I actually just looked at the stats, because Mikal Bridges shot 4 for 4 and 2 for 2 from the game. It's not like he was shooting bad. He didn't miss a shot in the game. He just
took 4 shots.
4 shots. Like, never mind. It's not a Mikal thing. They just got to get the ball to him, because clearly he's efficient, especially in a game like this.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be an interesting matchup if that does happen in the second round again. But a huge win for New York. I mean, they played a great game defensively. And they made the plays down the stretch when they needed to keep themselves alive to try to get that number 2 seed. On an overall conversation about Boston real quick, of course, they've had a phenomenal season, for given their expectations coming in without Tatum, and they've, been fantastic. They're, definitely one of the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. But does a game like this, is it concerning where you have a game where, like you guys said, Tatum has not been efficient, shooting the ball since coming back. Derek White has not been an efficient shooter this season. He's only shooting 33% from 3. Jaylen Brown hasn't been too efficient. Like, they're a team that is going to shoot a lot of threes, and, a lot of times they're going to live and die by the 3. But is it concerning at all that those lead guys have not had, very good, efficient shooting seasons?
Well, I think there's some concern to be had. You want to, look to be more efficient, which the Celtics should, but they still played, well enough for a lot of games to find a way to win. So that's why it's not too big of a concern, but they should look at that a bit, and having Jaylen Brown, back like in the playoff series, the way he still has played recently, would really help still for them, I think, against the Knicks. And it's hard for Tatum, it seems like, just coming back from an injury, still totally getting used to that efficiency, form that, is good efficiency. But I think as he still gets more used to things, he could possibly get more efficient, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think Tatum will end up peaking in the playoffs for sure. Like, this is what's so interesting about him coming back so later into the season, is that this was his 16th game playing. We'll see how much he plays over their final 2 games. But we'll see if around his 24-25 game mark of coming back, which could be in the second round, if that's where we're like, oh man, now he's playing efficient, and this really makes a huge difference for Boston. It looks like Boston will end up getting the 2 seed for the 2 teams, their final 2 games each. They both play at home for the rest of the season. For Boston, they play against New Orleans tonight, and then on Sunday against Orlando. Meanwhile, New York has Toronto on Friday and Charlotte on Sunday. So since Boston gets to play the New Orleans Pelicans on Friday, most likely they should get the win and clinch the number 2 seed. But, either way, just a big win for New York to continue to grab that confidence. And if they go into a series, they can go in saying, we took the season series against these guys.
Yeah.
Another big game in the Eastern Conference from this past week. On Wednesday, we saw the Cleveland Cavaliers cool off the red-hot Hawks, winning 122-116 in a potential playoff preview. Feels like a lot of roads are leading to a 4 versus 5 Cavs-Hawks matchup. And in this game, we got to see the Cavs, decently healthy with a lot of their guys in the lineup. And Atlanta, they were 18-3 in their previous 21 games. We saw, a back and forth effort as far as, performance in different quarters go. Felt like the Cavs played well in the first and third quarters. Hawks played well in the second and fourth quarters. Overall, the Cavs outscored the Hawks 44-20 in the third quarter, and that got them enough separation to come out with the win. Nick, what were some of your biggest takeaways from the game on Wednesday?
Well, I was glad after our conversation on our last podcast that they ended up playing all of the players who were healthy and trying to win the game. Miles, I was wondering actually what you thought about that scenario, since we had talked about it, and then we didn't know going into the game what was going to happen, and then they ended up winning the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they played in this game. I think, what their plan was going to end up being, and what it probably will turn out to be the rest of this week, was to get all those guys playing on Wednesday to kind of see what it would be like, with all the guys on the floor. And this team has not been healthy the whole season. I think that, for the Cavs expectations and how the season started, I think a lot of people, especially us as Cavs fans who, are watching and, kind of mentally critiquing this team every single game, are like, okay, this season was kind of, a bit of a letdown during the regular season. But overall, for a team that had to start basically 40 different starting lineups and didn't have a single game where their whole rotation was healthy, for them to have a 50-plus win season is pretty impressive. And, them getting this game where you saw some of the different tactical things they were doing, putting Jared Allen on Dyson Daniels and letting him shoot, putting Harden on a Kongwu, and, a bunch of different things like that, and adjusting down the stretch. And all 4 of those guys, the core 4 guys making an impact on the game against a red-hot Hawks team, I think was super valuable. And now they play tonight in Atlanta. They play the Lizards on Sunday. So there's not really a need for those guys to play now. I think that they got to see the Hawks full strength in one game, and they were able to get the win.
I agree with that. I'm glad we did it at home as well. I figured that was what's going to happen. They're like, we're going to show out. We're at least healthy enough where we can give the fans at least one more good show before we just mail it in for the last 2. And yeah, it's good, especially if we are going to have the home court to show the Hawks, like, hey, when we are healthy, you guys don't stand a chance at home. Like, if we have home court advantage, you guys are screwed.
Ben, what do you think?
I think the Cavs, with a much needed win in that one, I was happy about, the starters at least playing in that one. I think it helped with the core 4 finally being able to all play together in that game, with, just trying to figure out even more of the chemistry and the rhythm. And that seemed to help with that game and winning the game against the Hawks, who you could possibly be playing in the first round at home. It's definitely a good confidence booster. That was a good sign there, and yeah, overall good performance, but still things to clean up. Like the Cavs had the big lead at the third quarter, and I was disappointed with how the Cavs let the Hawks back into the game. The Cavs had a few sloppy turnovers on offense that helped them, and a few times struggling on defense, some rebounding, guarding. But the big thing that mattered at least was, it was a good sign to see the Cavs, not let up and make big plays at the end that mattered and helped the Cavs get over the top. Harden, I think, had some big plays at the end, and at least the Cavs showed they got it done when mattered most against a good Hawks team there.
We're still calling them the core four.
Heck yeah, they're the core four.
Yeah.
Well,
So what's the okay?
Yeah.
Because the coach in me says, okay, you downloaded good information in game one, you played everybody. I get you don't want to get hurt and have an injury going in the playoffs, but why wouldn't you want to beat them up again and download more good information and see the same reads and get better at it going into the playoffs? That's my coach in me, but I understand the injury thing too.
Because we saw, and I didn't make this exact point, but I made it clear, it's very important to go into the playoffs as healthy as possible. The Lakers were riding high into Oklahoma City last week, and in one day, because they played, and that was a game that their guys should have played in. I want to make that clear, but just Luka and Reeves both get hurt, and now we've talked about it. We feel like they have next to no chance of really doing anything, and there's no chance at all. So
I think them up in the tier ranking. You guys didn't want to.
Well, because they don't deserve to, because a LeBron James, Jake LaRavia team is not gonna work. We talked about that before. Lakers are in a tough battle against the Warriors to try to hold off the Rockets for home court in the first round. So that'll be a nice fight there. But yeah, I'm intrigued now with the potential of maybe it isn't the Hawks that end up in the 5th seed, because with the last couple games that the Raptors had dominating the Heat, which, man, Miami, that's a concern. The last couple weeks, their defense, it's definitely a huge concern. But the Raptors have now jumped up to the 5th seed because they have the tiebreaker, over Atlanta. Now Toronto has, they swept the Cavs this regular season, but they played all the games before Thanksgiving, or before December. So a lot of things have changed. Particularly for the Cleveland side of things. But you wonder, if the Cavs care about that as well. The Hawks have been playing great. Raptors have been playing solid as well. But you wonder if there's that thought at all of hey, if we beat the Hawks twice, maybe it's more likely we play the Raptors. I don't think they're going to go into it with that mindset because, like I said, I think the health is what they need to prioritize the most. And on their injury report right now, it says that Mitchell and Allen and Merrill are all out for the Friday game. So it looks like it'll be Harden, Mobley, and the rest of the crew to try to, get through the game in Atlanta, without any injuries there. But just going to be super exciting. It's always fun when, we have 2 game days left of the regular season and we have no matchups yet determined of who's going to play each other next week. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, yes. But unfortunately, we did get some more injury news, right?
Yes, we did, about a team that is no stranger to, devastating injuries, the Philadelphia 76ers and Joel Embiid, who had an appendicitis, had to have surgery in Houston on Thursday. My goodness, that's just you just feel bad, at this point, it's been an injury every single year to this guy. And we've seen the flashes this year with Embiid individually and the Sixers as a team when healthy of how good they can be. But just again, 2 games left in the regular season, and former MVP goes down with an injury that Joey, you said, it takes a little bit of time to recover from. Just devastating news for the Sixers.
It really sucks. And this is just the luck that the Sixers have had. Like, you can point to, they made the choice to get him even though the injury gets. This is appendicitis. This has nothing to do with all the previous injuries. This is like a surgery he has to get or he's going to die. Like, it's not like when you really want to mess around with. And once you get it out, once you get your appendix out, you'll be fine. But unfortunately, not for 5 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks. I think I saw was like a timetable for some other guys who have gotten it when they come back. And you were saying, Miles, you were saying in the pre-pod lobby about how OG Anunoby had it, and then we just never saw him again. And
on the Raptors title team, OG was in his second year. He wasn't, like a big starter or anything, but he was, a key role player. And, he was a very good defender, 3-and-D guy, for being such a young player. But, he had the appendicitis injury right before the playoffs, and he never returned on the floor. He never played for them in the playoffs. So OG has a ring, but he missed it because of this exact same injury, which cost him the entire playoffs. So, if that's the case, it just sucks for the Sixers again. But the good thing for them is that they have had a lot of experience of playing without him on the floor. So whether they finish in the 8th seed like they are right now, it looks like they're going to finish in the play-in tournament, have to play their way in through, a few games. They do have the experience of playing without him on the floor. They've been able to develop, some of their big guys like Adem Bona. They have Andre Drummond that's still there, with veteran experience, and, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George playing great, VJ Edgecombe. They have a very deep team. So they, it's going to be a tough out for them because they are still, a very good team, but not having, Joel Embiid, who's still a very good player, it's just going to make things tough.
Hey, you said it right. They don't have to worry about not having Embiid. They got known 3-point shooter Andre Drummond to help out.
That's right. 35% on threes this year, Andre Drummond. Still one of the craziest developments of the entire season. Quickly now, before we get into our awards, let's go to the Western Conference here quickly. OKC and San Antonio essentially clinched their spots as the number 1 and number 2 seeds over the last couple days. So that is set. There's still a whole lot still to be determined. Minnesota is going to be the 6th seed. Phoenix is going to be the 7th. Golden State's the 10th seed. So like we've talked about a lot before, the Clippers and the Trailblazers are battling for, that 8th seed spot going into the play-in tournament. They play each other tonight in Portland at 10 p.m. So that'll be a big game, a great test for the Trailblazers and a big one for the Clippers to try to win. But overall, the big thing to watch is that race between Denver, Houston, and the Lakers to see who's going to finish 3, 4, and 5. Right now, the Lakers are, in a game with the Warriors. The second half just started, and the Lakers have a 9-10 point lead going into the third quarter, and LeBron's got 20 already. So he's trying to do all he can to get them a big win. So what are you guys looking for here over the final few days of the season?
I'm looking to see if anybody's playing chess while other teams are playing checkers, because that 5 seed might be the more appealing spot to be in, seeing as it wouldn't you end up avoiding OKC?
You'd play the 1 seed. The 4-5 would play the 1 seed.
Oh, I was thinking 3-4, like it was a 6. My bad. So the 3 seed is the more desirable then, because you're opposite them. Okay, well, that doesn't work.
Well, or you just play the Lakers first, and without Luka or A. Reeves, you literally might have just like, if the Nuggets want to fall down to 4, they could probably just sweep the Lakers and maybe just get that extra rest.
Yeah, for Denver, I think they want to finish 3. Like, I think, a team like that, like, you shouldn't be worried about who you're playing in the first round. But the thing is, actually, to that point, they would play Minnesota in the first round, and that's been a big matchup over the last few years. So, that might be a point where, if they are that concerned with that, then you end up playing the Lakers. But I think the thing to note here is that besides playing the Lakers at this point in the first round, and obviously, whoever has to play the Thunder in the first round, there are no easy outs. There's nowhere to run or escape in the Western Conference playoffs. You're going to have to earn it to get into each, to advance to each round.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a gauntlet.
Yeah, I mean, the big games that, to watch for here, and we were talking in the pre-pod lobby, it is so difficult because some teams have clinched their spots, so you're not exactly sure who's going to be playing in these games. But as far as tonight's games, the Cleveland-Atlanta game, certainly one to watch. Toronto, New York, to see where, both of those teams, if they can jump up in the standings. Denver, Oklahoma City at 9 p.m. The Clippers, Blazers, playing preview potentially. And then Minnesota plays Houston at 9:30. And then there are no games Saturday. Sunday is, one of the more fun days because everyone plays. All the East teams play at 6. All the West teams play at 8:30. So everyone plays at the same time. So there isn't much maneuvering of, different, positions or anything like that. But in the East, Boston plays Orlando. New York plays Charlotte. Atlanta plays Miami. We'll see, where Miami's at that point, if they're still in the 10th seed. And then in the Western Conference, San Antonio plays Denver. So Denver with these 2 games against the top 2 seeds in the Western Conference. But again, the Thunder and the Spurs have already clinched their spots, so they don't really have an incentive to play in those situations. And then the final, Warriors at Clippers at 8:30, what could be another play-in preview there. So still a lot of, big games going on. And once again, no matchups have been determined yet. So it should be a lot of fun. Next episode is the play-in tournament preview, where we'll finally get to start, digging into postseason basketball and the X's and O's. So definitely excited for that. But it's time, guys. It is time for the 2026 Runnin the Paint Podcast Awards.
Like I said, just happy to be here. Happy to be following along. 3rd year doing this. I think we've gone 10 of 14 miles. Is that what you said? Shooting 71%?
Correct. The last 2 years, we have shot 10 for 14 as far as getting the actual awards correctly predicted. And the ones we haven't gotten right, we've gotten like the runner-up.
Well,
so
they were wrong. The ones that we didn't get right.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But, regardless, we it's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, we, all 4 of us have put in our, votes for each of the major, NBA awards. The guys sent their top 3 of each awards to me. And of course, we had our fan vote out on Instagram. Thank you to everyone who placed a vote. We had got a lot of, different feedback and things about each award. And I was telling the guys beforehand, the fans actually have determined 3 of the 8 awards that we're covering here, which is kind of crazy. So definitely excited to get into it, and get into it. So we got all the major awards. We have the GFF, and then at the end, we'll go over our all NBA teams. And then for the first time ever, we actually have our all rookie teams and all defensive teams as well. So we're going the whole way through. I'm pumped for this. You guys ready to do this?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, so let's get started with our first award. Let's start off with the Clutch Player of the Year award. Of course, an award that I think this is the 4th season of this award. One of those awards that sometimes can be, pretty difficult to gauge. But here are our top 3 nominees for the Clutch Player of the Year award. So we've got Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks, Luka Doncic of the Los Angeles Lakers, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, something to know for these awards is we have Luka on, these ballots. We have Wembanyama on these ballots. Both those guys, it's still not really determined yet if they're going to, meet the requirement, to fit the awards. But just for the sake of it, in case they do, we have them on here. So the winner of the Clutch Player of the Year award is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Was it unanimous?
No.
It was not. Joey had Brunson. Rest of us had SGA. Joey, why'd you go with Jalen Brunson to win his 2nd straight Clutch Player of the Year award?
Because I just didn't want to give SGA another award, to be honest. He has been clutch all season, so I'm not really mad at that. I kind of expected it, but Jalen Brunson's just as clutch in my opinion. Like, if you're going to put them, it's 1A, 1B. It's just unfortunate that Jalen Brunson plays for the Knicks and SGA plays for the Thunder. which the Thunder is just a way better team in general. So it's far and few between, I think, that the Thunder get in as clutch moments as the Knicks, I feel like. So I just think Jalen Brunson's had more opportunity and he's shown it.
Yeah, well, SGA, let's talk about SGA because my goodness, has he had a ton of clutch moments this season, which is, why I end up receiving this award. Nick, from opening night of the season, all the way to the finish here against some of the league's top teams and top players, he has showed up when the lights are the brightest.
Absolutely. I mean, the best players play their best when it matters the most, and he's somebody you can give the ball to at the end of the game and count on him to not only score it if that's the right read, but like make the right play. Like his quote, "I got all the answers, I just need the questions," is absolutely iconic, and I can't believe nobody's ever thought of that before. So simple and so perfect, and it actually is so accurate in his case too.
Yeah, for sure. Ben, what went into your voting for SGA as Clutch Player of the Year?
I thought there was just multiple big games where he was just scoring for the clutch. Overall, nice amount of points in the clutch time, and he was just hitting multiple big shots to help win the Thunder games throughout the year, as Nick mentioned, like that buzzer beater against the Denver Nuggets in that big game. That was quite a crazy shot by Shea. I watched that live on TV, and he doesn't play around when it comes to that clutch time.
No, he does not. I mean, when you think of his biggest, moments this season in the clutch, you think of that Denver game. You think of opening night against the Houston Rockets, the very first game of the season when we kept having these double overtime games for them. And he came up clutch in that game. The very next game in an NBA Finals rematch against the Pacers, who end up being injured. But Shea goes for 55 points in double overtime. Game winner, against Denver. The 47 against Detroit, a few weeks ago. I know Detroit, was not too healthy, but the top teams, he, just completely, dominates against and has such big games. So I think Shea definitely, deserving of Clutch Player there. And I definitely think he will get this award in real life.
No, that's a good point too, because it definitely, I don't think is counted in this award as much, where like, if you take a broader perspective and look at the whole season, like which games are the clutch games, the ones you have to get up for, and like if you get up for those, that could be also considered as like he's clutch because he's getting up for the ones that matter the most.
True.
Yeah, no question about it. As far as other guys that did deserve it, Brunson ended up being second in our voting, and then Luka Doncic third. Both those guys, of course, had big clutch moments. I had Anthony Edwards in my voting because he had some, crazy big, plays, this season as well. Ben had some other guys in his voting. Jamal Murray, James Harden had some, clutch moments for, their respective teams as well. Nick, you had the Joker as third. So definitely a lot of guys deserving, for this Clutch Play of the Year. But in the end, Shea takes home the winner. Let's go to our next one. Rookie of the Year. Now, this is a race that has been, heavily debated over the last few weeks, I feel like, between, the two Duke roommates, Knippel and Cooper Flagg, who have both had historic seasons. So let's go ahead and take a look at our nominees. BJ Edgecombe of the Philadelphia 76ers, Cooper Flagg of the Dallas Mavericks, and Knippel of the Charlotte Hornets, of course. Man, this is definitely, one of the crazy awards. I'm excited to see who actually wins it in real life. But as far as the Runnin the Paint podcast Rookie of the Year, Joey with the drum roll. Knippel.
Hey!
Takes home Rookie of the Year. And to my surprise, and probably will be your surprise as well, unanimous.
Wow.
Knippel takes home Rookie of the Year across the board. Now, this is a bit of a shocker to me that it was a unanimous vote. Nick, what'd you think?
I was gonna say put that graphic back up because it looks cool.
Just the arm.
No, I'm very surprised. I was about to say, was this one of the ones that the fans would have decided, because I figured it'd be close. It's called Rookie of the Year, and Khan has been the Rookie of the Year, not the Rookie of like the last 2 weeks, considering the fact that Cooper's had an incredible couple of weeks. And it's not also called the Rookie of the next 5 years either. So for this year and his performance, breaking the all-time rookie record for 3-pointers and leading the NBA in 3-pointers made this season, that's enough for me.
Yeah, he had a historic year as a rookie, which, don't get me wrong, like Cooper Flag has been phenomenal, and he very much deserves this award if it wasn't for his team, for his roommate, his old buddy. Like Concanipple has led this, whatever you want to say. Like you could say, oh, maybe it's just clicking for the Hornets, but no. The addition of Concanipple has made this Charlotte Hornets team a playoff contender. And you cannot understate that statement whatsoever. Like, he has changed them, regardless of what you think. I'm like, oh, maybe it was just the coaching, like, changed, or LaMelo finally matured up or something. Whatever you want to say. I'm fairly certain it has a lot to do with how Concanopple has taken this team to the next level. But Cooper Flag, I still think will probably be the better player overall in the next 5 years, but this year specifically, Concanople's got it.
Yeah, and I do think there's a world where Cooper Flag still could win Rookie of the Year because of the last month that he had. It definitely could sway a lot of voters, but overall, I mean, you mentioned Joey taking, and not him single-handedly, but being one of the best players on the Charlotte Hornets, turning around and becoming a playoff contender is crazy. Like, it really is something special. And for a guy like this to lead the league in threes made as a rookie in a league where threes are shot, it's a 3-point league, and a rookie just came in and led the league in threes made for a season and broke the record. I think it's incredible for a relevant Charlotte Hornets team. Cooper Flag has been phenomenal, but again, Dallas has not been a relevant team all season long. And I think, Joe, I agree. I think he will end up being the better player. You can make the case that I think he could be the better player now because he is asked to do more. But as far as the winner of the award, Ben, I think, Concanipple definitely deserves the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. I've agreed with you guys as seen. And yeah, part of it on why I picked him to win. It was tough to decide between him and Cooper Flag, but the winning helped elevate Khan. Like, I agree with what Joey was saying on how Khan elevated the Hornets. I totally know where the Hornets still would be without Khan. I don't think they would be that good of a team, but Khan's helped them turn into a good, more competitive team just because he shot the free ball so well. I think he's been a big part of helping the Hornets have good floor spacing finally in a season this year. And he's had some big scoring games himself, like against Cooper Flag, as I mentioned in the last podcast episode as like a favorite moment. He's had 39, was going crazy in that game. So it's just been consistently good too throughout the year, while elevating a Hornets team that was just bad for multiple years as a rookie, which was impressive.
Yeah, I want to put a disclaimer out there. We're not saying that Khan is the only reason. Like, them getting Kalkbrenner as also was huge defensive guy. Musa Diabate has been an offensive rebounding genius. Brandon Miller's been healthy. Like, a lot of it is also to do with the health of the team. Like, this is just a really good team now. Like, now that everything has kind of come together. I'm just saying, and I think we're all kind of saying Concanopple was just kind of the main kind of major, poster board catalyst that we're all seeing is, this is kind of a big change that they really needed, and consistency that has completely helped turn this team around.
Yeah, I mean, overall for their team, I think that LaMelo being healthy this year has been huge, and Brandon Miller as well. But I mean, across the board, the shooting that they've gotten with Knippel and, you know, all their young players just being so solid, just so impressive. But Knippel, unanimous winner of the Rookie of the Year award on the Run in the Paint podcast.
That is a surprise to me, I will say. And I just want to, Joey said disclaimer, one more thing is like people are going to say like this seems like a handout or it feels like they're giving it to him for, or I don't know. I think people are going to say that because Coop is, they're going to say they're giving it to him because they think Coop is going to be the better player in the long run. Like people are going to have that sort of sentiment. And what I would say is that's BS because he's a really good player and he deserves it. Like you guys seen, remember when Kanye went on stage and said, Taylor, this is a great video, but Beyonce.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not saying that Beyonce didn't deserve to win it but I'm saying that Taylor's video was great too. And Con is Taylor.
Great analogy.
What an analogy by Coach Co. How about that? But yeah, congrats to Knippel taking home the Run in the Paint podcast Rookie of the Year award unanimously. Still, I could not believe that when I was putting this together.
My point was that Cooper could be like the best player of all time in 5 years, or he could be as good as he ever as anything. And Con could still deserve the award. He still deserved the award. Is my point. I'm sorry, it took me so long to get there.
All good.
Oh no, All right, well, let's move on to a Defensive Player of the Year. Now, this is an award. Let's just go to the nominees. We know what's going on with this award. Our nominees: Rudy Gobert of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Chet Holmgren of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs. And the winner of the Run of the Paint podcast Defensive Player of the Year award is Wemby.
Whoa, shocker!
Also unanimous, but this one not a surprise.
Wow.
I mean, come on. He finally gets it. Hopefully, he plays in one of these final two games for 20 minutes to qualify. But he, finally gets it. Clearly the best defensive player in the league. And this year, you can't make the excuse that you could his rookie year where his team wasn't competitive. This is a 60-plus win Spurs team led by Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Wemby, he can amaze me and he can amaze all of us, I think. It's just impressively athletic and he's so tall he can just easily block some shots. He's had a lot of blocks this year. He's got a lot of rebounds this year. Like he's just built great to be a great defender, and it's amazing just how tough it looks for players to find ways to score around them because players just get even more hesitant around him. He's just so big, he could come up and you try a shot at him, you just come up and get a stop easily right on you. He's just impressive defense and deserves it. Him
For sure.
hopefully getting just barely to the 65 mark.
Yeah, this season, Wemby has 195 blocks in 63 games, and even missing, nearly, 20 games this season, 55 more blocks than the next player. Like, it's crazy. And that can anyone guess that number 2 player? Not a player that was on our nominees. Not a player that received a single vote for DPOY either.
Donovan Clingan?
No.
Yes.
No.
It's one of Nick's guys. Jay Huff.
Whoa.
Gee, huh?
He doesn't even play a lot of minutes either.
No, he doesn't either, which is crazy, but second in the league in blocks. But yeah, big time for Wemby getting this award. I think there were a lot of guys that were, that definitely deserved this, the runner up, as well. A lot of us voted for, Chet. I voted for Scotty Barnes, third, same as Joey. I think that his year that he's had defensively for the Raptors has been unbelievable as a guy that can really do it all defensively. And Rudy Gobert, getting back on the leaderboard. I think, good for Rudy after, I don't think making our leaderboard last year.
Yeah, good for Rudy, but man, Scotty was phenomenal this year. He has been phenomenal defensively. I love watching him play defense. He just gives it all out on it. I love it. I just looked it up. I didn't even know. Chet's above him at 2 with 4.8 defensive win shares in the NBA. Scotty's third, tied with Cason Wallace with 4.3 on the season this year. So Scotty, kind of part of the reason why the Raptors are battling for that fifth spot right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no question. And of course, Chet Holmgren as well, that number one defense, OKC doing it yet again, completely dominating on that end of the floor. And he's been amazing this year, breaking out more offensively, becoming an all-star, and, overall in our voting, defensive player of the year runner-up. So shout out to Chet Holmgren, but Victor Wembanyama taking home defensive player of the year. Now, let's move on to most improved. Now, this is an award that, can be very controversial, every single season because there are no real parameters set on the award. But this
I just shut that off, man. Freaking fantasy.
Anyways, most improved player. This award is one of the most insane one. This might be the most insane award race we've ever had for an award here for most improved player. So let's get into our nominees for most improved player. We've got Nickeil Alexander-Walker from the Atlanta Hawks, Denny Avdia of the Portland Trail Blazers, and Jalen Duren of the Detroit Pistons. And the winner of the most improved player is Denny Avdia of the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, I say this is one of the craziest award races we've ever had because this is one of the awards that the fans actually determined that Avdia was the winner because the four of us all picked a different winner of this award, which is unbelievable. I had Jalen Duren. Ben picked Ryan Rollins of the Milwaukee Bucks. Joey went Alexander Walker. And Nick goes with Denny Avdia, and the fans, got buttered up by Coach Cove probably on social media. So Denny ends up getting, taking the award home. Nick, why did you go with Denny Avdia?
I didn't know who he was last year, and this year he's like an All-NBA candidate. So that's basically like the definition of the award. I think a lot of people would fall into that same sentiment and category because he's really stepped it up for a Portland team that has also improved a lot this year and is going to be in the play-in bracket for the first time in a while. And he's one of the leading causes of that. He's honestly one of the most aggressive players in the league, just in terms of number of drives and downhill finishes and dump-offs, and his usage rate is sky high. So voted for him as an all-star, voted for him for most improved. I think I put him on my third-team All-NBA.
Yeah, absolutely. Big time year for Denny Avdia, jumping up about 7 points this year. About the same amount of rebounds, but jumped up nearly 3 assists per game. The volume increased, and the big thing is he got to the free throw line a lot more this year and increased his efficiency there. And the face of a Portland team still looking to compete for the playoffs, 24.7 boards, 7 assists per game is no joke. As the number one guy in a loaded Western Conference. So definitely well deserved. But again, a lot of different players up for, candidacy here. So Joey, give us your thoughts on this award.
I voted for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think he deserves it. I'll give my pitch to the fans that voted for Denny because they clearly just don't know any better. But this Hawks team was so dysfunctional this year until they got Trae Young out of the lineup and inserted Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and all of a sudden he looked like an all-star kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, I saw this and I thought it was a joke, but I didn't even know Nickeil Alexander-Walker pass Trae Young for threes in a season for a Hawks guy. He has that record. He just got there, and after Trae was like playing there and starting for half the season there. So like to do that, wow, like I don't know. And the Hawks, like we said, over the last month or so, they've been ever since the All-Star break, they've been one of the hottest teams. Now they're a bona fide playoff spot after being like a 9 or 10 seed like before that.
Well, a playing team for like basically the last half decade.
Yeah, exactly. Even with Trae Young, and now that he's gone, they go in a new direction. They're not even playing their former number 1 overall pick, Zachary Reese. They're playing all these other guys. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Jalen Johnson are leading that team. And it is just super fun to watch. And I don't know. Denny Abed, we kind of knew he was going to come and like take the face of Portland last year. Like I was real excited for that. Like I saw this.
I would agree with that as well.
I just saw it kind of coming. Like where he would have a great year.
I saw Nog coming then. I mean, I was out here talking about Nickeil Alexander-Walker during the 2023 FIBA Cup, saying he needs more minutes on the Wolves, and every time he gets on the court, they have a positive plus-minus, and he's way better than anybody treats him in the league.
Yeah, and now he finally got that chance. I just didn't know what was going to happen with the Hawks. I did not think he was going to get this.
I didn't know he was going to happen with Denny, so.
I knew it with Denny. But I guess, I don't know. Maybe the award was promised to him 3,000 years ago, so that's why.
What? No, I'd say no. Dude, Nickeil becoming a 21 point per game scorer. That was not in the cards for me. I'm sorry. Like that. I think that's something that's really crazy, and for him to basically have the same efficiency when he doubled his shots from the field, 3, and the free throw line. That is unheard of to me. Like it really is crazy that he is looking like a star type of player on the Atlanta Hawks now. Something, it really is crazy because I've been seeing stuff on social media with the way he's played the last few weeks of, him and Anthony Edwards when they were together in Minnesota, and it's like, man, did the Timberwolves make the wrong decision deciding to keep Naz Reid instead of Nickeil Alexander-Walker? But what I saw,
made the wrong decision. It was playing Mike Conley for 3 years next to AD instead of Noah.
Yeah.
They made it to they made 2 conference finals the last 2 years with Conley. I give the old man credit, but what I saw, it was Ant and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and what they're doing now. And 4 years ago, Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson. And when they were in Dallas, and then Brunson gets the same basically opportunity with New York, and we see what happens. Like I'm not sure if Nickeil's now going to become the face of the Atlanta Hawks or anything like that, or be their savior. But I saw that, and I'm like, my goodness, this is actually pretty darn similar here with the way that Nickeil has played. I voted for Jalen Duren of the Pistons because I think what he has done this year to really increase his offensive game in the same amount of minutes, for basically the same role on the same exact team, and for him to increase his points per game from 12 to nearly 20 on a nearly 60-win Detroit Pistons top seed in the East is crazy. The way he's improved his playmaking, his aggressive drives to the basket, his ability to get to the free throw line and knock them down and anchor inside one of the best defensive teams in the league in Detroit, I think was really impressive. And you talk about things you didn't see coming. I did not see 20 and 10 on a top seed for Jalen Duren at 22 years old.
Completely.
It's his 4th year in the league, isn't it? I mean, it's just at least 3rd or 4th year in the league. Drafted him high in our fantasy league this year. I don't want to say, I'm king predicted league or anything, but I could have seen a big jump coming for him too. I guess I really just didn't know about Denny last year, and that's all this comes down to, is the fact that I didn't know that he was on the come up. But in terms of Duren, I didn't see him getting up to 20. I'll tell you that. Maybe like 15 and 10 guy or so. But yeah, he's been super efficient, especially when Cade has gone out recently and he's had to step up.
That I would never have predicted Jalen Duren to be on the top seeded and be the second leading scorer and the second leading man on a top seeded Detroit Pistons. I would have never guessed that. And again, in Denny's defense, Nick, I will also say I also put him on the All NBA third team, and I never would have predicted to put him on an All NBA team. I thought he would have been really good and possibly an All Star, but not an All NBA guy this year.
I'd say Duran was my first cut on All NBA when we get to it. He was my first cut. Like, I mean, it was that close. And it was just so I mean, what we say about him not averaging 20 and 10, I fully thought that he would be like a Clint Capella, Jared Allen type of player who, playing with, all-star guards, he could get to 15 and 10. For him to be at 20 and 10, and, we talked about it on the last, couple pods ago, where this, few week stretch where Cade was out with the lung injury, and we're like, man, will the Pistons give up the top seed? And he becomes a number one guy? Like, that is crazy. So, but then he opted to take on the win. Ben, you picked Ryan Rollins. He had a nice, improvement jump this year. Explain your vote given to Ryan Rollins.
Yeah, so Ryan Rollins was like no one we really heard of before the start of this year. Then all of a sudden, well, this guy is like the one bright spot of the embarrassing Bucks this year, which we'll get more on that part later. But the bright spot here with the Bucks is Ryan Rollins. Woo! Wow, this guy was putting up some good offensive numbers in some games. It's good offensive numbers on the year, and he's okay defender, not the best on defense. But I just thought of it like, okay, well, Nikhil, even if he wins it, I had second, that's still deservable, or Denny's still deservable. They took nice jumps, but Ryan Rollins just didn't really do much next year. Now last year, now this year he put up big production. I was just like, okay, to me, this guy was just okay, the biggest jump out of anybody I noticed in the NBA for how they improved, and that's what it came down to. But he might not win it because we know the Bucks have been bad.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't really consider him, because it was on, an irrelevant team. And he really got the keys. But no, you're right though. I mean, he jumped up last year as, he started a little bit, but as, a spot up guy. 6-2-2 to 17-4-5 is, really, really good. He just happens, to be playing for, relevant for the wrong reasons, Milwaukee Bucks.
And I will say, like you were saying about Jalen Durant, we were talking about the efficiency and stuff. Ryan Rollins, I just looked it up as well. He's still shooting 40% like he was last year, and he was shooting 48% last year, and now shooting 47% from the field. So his efficiency hasn't gone anyway, but he's shooting 3 times as much, and instead of 14 minutes a game, he's getting 30 plus. I'm with Ben. This is a great pick, but only if the Bucks were a little better than you could actually probably consider. Because, man, sucks for the Bucks. It sucks for kind of Ryan Rollins.
Yeah. Now, I will say someone that did make a big jump on an irrelevant team that I did give a vote to was Keontae George on the Utah Jazz, who I definitely thought could have deserved a top 3. So I think he will finish 4th overall in the voting probably. But he might have as far as the next few years in the league, this might be the most impactful jump in the league actually this season. When you really think about it, for being a guy the last couple of years who, as the 16th overall pick, was kind of thrown in there as an inefficient scoring point guard that could pass a little bit. This year, 23 points and 6 assists per game, shooting 45% from the field, 37% from 3, 89% from the free throw line. Career highs all across the board. And this year was so important for Keontae George because Utah didn't really have many standout players as far as their young guys went. Of course, they had Larry Markkinen, who they, now veteran in the league. But as far as their young guys, they didn't really have anyone that really stood out as far as this can be the co-star or whatever to Larry Markkinen. Keontae George is he had an all-star caliber season, and his play enabled them to go out and trade for Jaren Jackson Jr. So, we talked about in the lottery season preview, with that team they have and, the draft pick that they get this year, if things go right for Utah, there is no ceiling on that team the next few years. And Keontae George playing this way, this particular season, enabling them to make that move could be the biggest reason why the Jazz could be, a lot better over the next few years. So shout out to him for a big season.
I also put him as my third spot because I'm a big fan, and I am 100% with you. I think the Jazz don't make that trade for Jaren Jackson if they don't see that they can make a trio of stars there. Like if it was just going to be Laurie and Jaren Jackson, you don't make that trade. You can't do that. But now that you've got a point guard that has just jumped up like that, completely changes everything.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on to Sixth Man of the Year. This is another award, actually, that the fans determine. So let's get into it with our nominees for Sixth Man of the Year. Jaime Jaquez Jr. of the Miami Heat, Keldon Johnson of the San Antonio Spurs, and Reed Sheppard of the Houston Rockets. The winner of the Sixth Man of the Year award is Keldon Johnson of the San Antonio Spurs.
Ow, bang, bang.
Wow.
Here is the voting breakdown here. The fans ended up being the tiebreaker as Joey and I picked Johnson. Nick and Ben went with Jaime Jaquez. Fans going with Keldon Johnson gets him to win this award. What a big year it was for Keldon Johnson this year on that, incredible Spurs team, Joey. Him really leading their second unit, energy-wise, rebounding-wise, efficiency-wise, has been one of the biggest reasons.
100%. I've always been kind of a big fan of Keldon Johnson ever since he made his Team USA debut, and I think, the FIBA World Cup a couple of years ago, and he played fantastic. I always thought he kind of has this kind of potential, or more of an all-star potential, I thought, but bringing him off the bench, especially the way this team is built, he is floated right into that role, does exactly what he does, plays hard, rebounds, scores. He's a huge catalyst for them off the bench. I think that well-deserved, in my opinion, especially since Spurs are a 2 seed. They're the second best team in the league. You don't have that if you don't have a really good depth as well. You can do everything you can, but with even Dylan Harper and Keldon Johnson coming off the bench with that team, that is huge for the Spurs and where they are now.
Yeah, no question about it. But Jaime Jaquez for the Heat as well. Ben and Nick, you went with him. He, I believe, leads the league in bench scoring this year and has provided a nice offensive spark for Miami this year. So, Ben, what made you vote for Jaime Jaquez?
Good for him, doo-doo. Just him consistently putting up some good production off the bench. And, yeah, his offensive numbers took more of a jump this year. He was a big, boost for the Heat when they needed to find someone else for an offensive spark sometimes this year. And he's, has good lengths. He hits some good moments on defense this year. Lately, the Heat's defense has been the best, but he's overall had a nice year as a sixth man. It was good to see him grow some more as a young player, but it's a tough one, sixth man of the year. Keldon Johnson would be deserving of it too, and he's been great, and the Spurs had, done a lot of winning, which helps his case a bit.
Yeah, if we're looking for the third award or fourth award or fifth award or sixth award that Wemby's winning, I guess sixth man is included in that, considering you guys are heavily weighting the winning of the team. No, Keldon's had a great year too. I didn't have him in my top three, but only because I forgot and put Tim Hardaway third. I wanted to shout out Cason Wallace. I feel like he is going to be big for the Thunder off the bench in the postseason, and I considered him for this award too. But yeah, Keldon Johnson, I'm glad that it was him and Jaime because they're both, I think they're both two-way guys. They both played both ends of the floor. And the only reason I voted for Jaime over Keldon was thought his numbers were a little bit better, and I think he's a better all-around offensive player. And they both played both ends of the ball, so that was my.
I like that you shouted out
Queso.
Case and Wallace, but also Tim Hardaway. I also voted Tim Hardaway third because, again, with how the Nuggets that we always talk about when Jokic is out, they don't have really good depth. He has provided much needed depth and really good 3-point shooting that the Nuggets have desperately needed to make themselves contenders again.
Yeah, and I like that Case and Wallace shout out too, because I think that he might be someone that has to end up starting for them in the playoffs if Lou Dort continues to not shoot the ball well like he has all season. He might be someone that needs to increase his role heading into the playoffs, and he got opportunities to do that this year with different injuries. Reed Shepherd, definitely, a good season, as well. Just his sophomore year, his first year getting real minutes in the rotation, provided a nice offensive boost for a Rockets team that needed 3-point shooting. He's really provided that all season long. Of course, his minutes, sometimes can, differ, depending on his defensive play and, if he is knocking down shots. But overall, Keldon Johnson gets the win. Jaime Jaquez, close second. Want to give a shout out to Jaime Jaquez as well for having a bounce back third year. He was a good in his rookie season, but last year, just a sophomore slump. I mean, for him to have this bounce back of a season after he was not in the rotation last year for a Heat playoff team that got dominated by the Cavs in like the worst round one series ever. He couldn't play in that series to becoming second and sixth man of the year, 15-5-5 player on 50% shooting. So, big bounce back for Jaime Jaquez. That's definitely a big, shout out to him for that.
Huge.
But Keldon Johnson of the Spurs takes home Sixth Man of the Year award. Next on the list here is Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year. There's always a lot of great candidates for this one every single season. So let's see who we've got for it this season. Our nominees: J.B. Bickerstaff of the Detroit Pistons, Mitch Johnson of the San Antonio Spurs, and Joe Mazzulla of the Boston Celtics. And the winner of the Run in the Paint Coach of the Year award is J.B. Bickerstaff of the Detroit Pistons.
Nice.
Another award, our third in a row, that the fans determine. And once again, Joey and I are the geniuses here, going with JB, and Ben and Nick go with Joe Mazzulla. Top two seeds in the Eastern Conference, being the leaders in this award.
I fully get voting Joe Mazzulla because a lot of us, including me, picked the Celtics that they should have a year off, wait till Tatum gets back. But the fact that he kept them incredibly competitive and the top of the Eastern standings, and now they're a 2 seed. Now that Tatum is back and they're ready to compete for a title, all the props in the world, all of it. However, how on earth does anybody predict the Detroit Pistons to be the number 1 seed in the East? I don't see how that ever happens. I think JB deserves it because I never would have predicted. Even after Cade got injured, we all thought they were going to blow it. And if they did, I probably would have given it to Joe Mazzulla. But they didn't blow it. They kept winning even without Cade.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, from 14 wins to tripling their wins last year and getting to the playoffs, and this year being the number 1 seed is just a phenomenal job. And I think JB Bickerstaff, he deserves a Coach of the Year award at some point for the jobs that he's done. We gave it to him last year on this podcast. Kenny Atkinson ends up winning it, ironically, for our Cavs. But, JB Bickerstaff is someone that just, for both Cleveland and Detroit, really did great jobs bringing up, those teams. And for Detroit, the fact that he did it so quickly with what heading into the season we thought was a worse roster because of the lack of 3-point shooting. We'll see if that comes true in the playoffs. But as far as the regular season, we're like, all right, this is a worse roster. Did they actually get any better? And they're on the verge of 60 wins. I know in a wide open Eastern Conference, but the fact that they were the ones to take it and be number 1 for the entire season, I think he absolutely deserves to get it this year.
Yeah, I voted JB second. I think he deserves it as well, getting the Pistons to the 1 seed versus taking a team that was not predicted to finish in the top 6 for sure by most people. and having them hang around in the 2 seed without their best player. It's a tough thing to call. I just think Missoula is one of the best coaches in the league, if not the best coach in the league. And not saying anything against JB. They both did a fantastic job this year. I just have a slight bias, I guess you would say, towards Missoula, and I picked him. I always try and justify what I'm saying, and then I lose my train of thought.
Well, while it comes back to you, Ben, why'd you go with Joe Missoula as Coach of the Year?
I went Missoula because I was doubting the Celtics before the year, didn't have them even in the play-in, and then he somehow just gets these, younger unknown guys to somehow step up and be good role players, and they're still really good. It's unbelievable the job I thought he did. Like the Celtics, still somehow, were able to play it at a style well, finding ways to shoot the free ball well. I was like, well, this could be more of a struggle with the players they had, earlier the year. But no, they figured it out all well. Jim Missoula, really, pushed those guys, pushed the young guys in the rotation, and it's paid off. The Baylor Shireman, has impressed me, and Kata, who started a lot at center all year, was like, oh boy, this center rotation looking so great going the year, but he helped Makita's development of being a good center. He became a pretty good defensive center, Kita, this year, and became a tough force sometimes in the paint, which was impressive to see. And Jim Missoula is just one of the best coaches in the league, like Nick said, but I think Mitch Johnson and J.B. Bickerstaff both have good cases too.
Yeah, I mean, the Spurs jumping up to 60-plus wins is something that, we didn't have in the cards really either, but I think that's, Wemby, obviously Wemby taking the year 3 jump, and then just having an all-around great team. That's, definitely, they have an amazing team, and that got them to the 2 seed. And I think that something that's interesting with this award is, for all of us, it basically is based off of our expectations for the respective teams coming into the season and how they actually go to them. Nick, we saw that in your voting. You went with Jordan Ott third. Yep. Famously, remember Nick going with the Suns 15th in the West preseason, and them being locked into 7. They've been a postseason team the whole year. Is very impressive for Jordan Ott in his first year as head coach.
I was just about to say, we got to honor Jordan Ott because he had a phenomenal year. Go ahead, Nick.
I forgot about the Jazz that day. But
you voted them 14th.
Huh?
You picked them 14th though. You still had
the Jazz?
Yeah.
I know. I forgot that they were going to be worse than the Suns.
The Phoenix Buns. Didn't have to worry about that at all this year. Did not have to worry about that at all this year. But shout out to to all those coaches, definitely deserving. JB Bickerstaff of the Detroit Pistons, though, takes it home. I just hope he gets it, man, for his sake. I think he definitely deserves it. But now let's go over to the GFF of the year, the Garbage Fire franchise of the season. Nick, since this is, of course, a Run on the Paint exclusive award, you want to explain to the viewers what this means?
Yeah. The origin, Joe's getting his GFF hat on.
Sorry, I put my hat on. My favorite.
The origin stems from the New Jersey / Brooklyn Nets and the whole saga that they were just the worst franchise in the league for a while. And I remember we were talking about how bad they were one time on the pod, and we just called them the Garbage Fire franchise of the NBA. So now, every year, there's a new one of those. And who knows, maybe this year there'll be a back-to-back champ, and it'll be a 2-time Garbage Fire franchise, and we can have an extended run like we did with the New Jersey / Brooklyn Nets, which was the originator.
That would be crazy. For reference, last season was the Dallas Mavericks. You know, last year they made the Luka Doncic trade. Everything went wrong afterwards. There were some great candidates last year. I mentioned the Phoenix Buns. They were definitely, that's who I voted first because my goodness, they were so disappointing. But those teams don't have to worry about that this year. They do not have to worry about that because they're not in the top 3 of the nominees. So here are the nominees for the GFF of the year: the Milwaukee Bucks, the New Orleans Pelicans, and the Sacramento Kings.
Oh,
You said last year was a really good race, but this GFF race is probably one of my favorites.
And the winner of the 2026 Garbage Fire franchise is the Sacramento Kings.
Yes! Woo! Let's go!
You didn't even put up the real graphic.
wow.
Well, so now let's take a look at the voting breakdown. This was actually, I actually made a mistake. This is another one that the fans ended up deciding, because Ben and I went with the Bucks. Joey, Nick, and the fans go with the Kings. Now, Nick was thinking something else because a week ago when we were previewing this, Ben and I were all towards, not even lighting the beam, burning the beam, because they barely lit that thing this season. But the last week of reports of what has happened with the Milwaukee Bucks this season, to me, they are a clear winner of this award, and I'm someone that predicted them to be as bad as they are this season, tied for 12th right now with the Bulls, and that's what I predicted, at the start of the season. But the reports coming out about the mismanagement with Giannis all season that we've talked about, Doc Rivers coaching, Google me, look at my resume, and, just the miscommunication with the players, with Kyle Kuzma, Ryan Rollins, Kevin Porter, Bobby Portis, Torian, across the board, that blows my mind, and I think they are definitely the GFF of the year. Because the Kings, the Kings at least knew early that they were bad, and they just tanked. So I give them credit for understanding what they're in and just being bad.
I will defend my Kings because obviously they are the true GFF of the year.
Correct.
It's funny, I was just looking back at who I predicted this year to be the GFF, and I had 3 Eastern Conference teams. I had the Bulls, the Hornets, and the Raptors. And 2 of those are playoff teams, basically. So looks like I know what I'm talking about. But in this race specifically, it was really hard not to pick the Bucks because, like you said, if they wanted to set on fire that franchise and that organization, they did that this season. They were talking out of both ways this entire year, and it was just a whole mess. The only thing that I give the Bucks, that they're in a better spot. They are in a better position to move forward than the Kings. The Kings have little to no youngsters that are promising. Outside of, I know one of your favorite guys, Maxime right now, but outside of him, they don't have anybody. They really don't. They're the Chicago Bulls, who we thought was going to be the GFF. They basically have that team. It's the same kind of build, at least. With instead of Vucevic, they have Sabonis, and DeRozan and Levine are still there. It's literally just the Chicago Bulls 2.0. It's just that what were they thinking? They would compete this year? No, God, no. Are you kidding me? And yeah, they tanked, but what can they get outside of a top pick this year? Is that really going to change their outlook unless it's literally the number 1 pick and it changes everything? Outside of that, no one player is going to come in and change all of this. The thing with the Bucks is you can still get a lot out of Giannis. If you trade him this offseason, you can get a lot of stuff back. Good youngsters, good draft picks. That's what you can get. Who are the Kings going to get for Sabonis, Zach LaVine, and DeMar DeRozan?
Now look, that is fair. That is fair. What I will argue is that the Bucks, the way they handled this season was the worst.
Oh,
I think the Kings might be in one of the worst positions, but even then, if they get a top pick, it can help them because they do have veterans with a young player that they can, learn from or whatever. But just I like how Sacramento kind of handled the season a little bit. I didn't like the DeAndre Hunter, Dennis Schroeder, Keanu Ellis trade for them at all. But as far as it seemed like at least a good vibe with their team, with the veterans leading the young guys that they have. There seemed to be a positive energy on their bench, even through this stretch where they were tanking. I just do not like how Milwaukee handled this season in any way, shape, or matter. But Kings take home the GFF of the year. Regardless, that is very well deserved. They take home their first real GFF of the year award winner. I think that if we did, an exercise and went back over the last, 10, 15 seasons, they may not be able to hang another banner there because of all the ones they already have in the Golden One Center. So,
the GFF, I know Nick described them as basically the OGs is the Brooklyn Nets, but Sacramento has always been up there. It's always been those two teams that have always been at the top of the list for GFF over the last 20 years.
Correct. I will, Joe, you mentioned looking back at the predictions for GFF for the year. I'm going to pat myself on the back here because I did say the Hornets. So I did say the Hornets, but I had the Pelicans and I had the Bucks. So I went 2 for 3 on the nominees. So I'm glad I at least got that right. Shout out to DeAndre Jordan, starting center on the New Orleans Pelicans.
I was going to say, that's the shout out we have to get. The Pelicans are in a terrible spot, but the fact that they've been playing better over the last couple months, it's okay, they just kind of need to be healthy and get things going. They're not actually that bad. Yeah. They just don't have a draft pick. And they're bad.
Yeah, correct. All right. That's it for GFF of the year. Now let's get to the nitty-gritty. The MVP, the most valuable player, the one that we have all been waiting for. This has been another one that has been a wild race, really, the last few months of the entire season. A lot of great candidates at the top, but there can only be one. So first, let's take a look at our top 3 nominees for MVP. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets, and Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs. And the winner of the 2026 Run on the Paint MVP is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder, going back-to-back winning MVPs.
Yeah, not surprised. He's the best player in the league. I made the case earlier for his clutch player of the award. You can give the ball to him in any situation towards the end of the game and count on him to do the right thing. And he probably does it at a higher level than, anybody I've seen in a long time. But I didn't give him the award. No, I just think Joker honestly deserves it more. You lead the league in rebounding and assists. I think in 10, 15, 20 years, you're going to look back and be like, how did we not give Joker every single one? I think it'll be a similar sentiment to LeBron, at least in my eyes. And if they go and beat the Thunder in 7 games and win the finals, people are going to say the same thing. It should be Joker. So when it's that close and splitting hairs, honestly, the biggest difference for me was the fact that the Thunder have more guys that you can go to because that sounds like I'm counting directly against him. But when you talk about most valuable player, I think he's the most valuable for his team. I don't think that applies to Shai.
I completely agree, even though I know I did vote Shai. Because I have said this in multiple times, and growing up watching the Cavs and being LeBron, we always say he should have won more MVPs. He really should have, but voter fatigue and people look as the best player. Sometimes they mix it up with most valuable. Jokic and the Joker, aka the Joker, is literally the most valuable. You take him off that team is a play-in team at best. At best, it's a play-in team. especially in this Western Conference. If you take Shea off this team, you still got two other All-NBA kind of guys, and J-Dub and Chet Holmgren. And you could at least be like possibly and with their incredible depth and defense, I still think like they could be like maybe even a top 4 seed.
So what I would argue is that we did see the stretch where Joker got hurt and they were still okay. Like they had a very good stretch when he was hurt, and he came back and they were struggling for a little while there. Like we've talked about it several times on the podcast where, Nick, you said a few times, like, this just doesn't feel like Denver's year. And a lot of that, even though the counting stats were crazy with Jokic, there were some stinker games in there, especially from 3-point range. It's a random stretch in a game that probably only Denver Nuggets fans will remember, but I was watching a game between them and the Blazers like a month ago where Jokic, it was the final minute of the first quarter, and Jokic just had back-to-back awful possessions where he dribbled for 20 seconds, airballed a 3, at the other end, got a defensive rebound, hopped up in the air in the backcourt, and threw it behind him to nobody. And that's just 1 minute of basketball. But it kind of encapsulated what was going on with that team. They were not winning clutch games. They were not a good defensive team. And when you're looking at OKC and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the clutch, we gave him clutch player of the year in the biggest games of the year. He stepped up and he made the shots to separate him, him in that situation. And just overall, from an overall winning perspective going into the season, last year, Oklahoma City beat Denver in 7 games in a very hard-fought series last year. This year coming in, of course, the Thunder are riding high off their championship, but Denver brought in so many different role players to, surround Nikola Jokic. And we're like, man, this is the best surrounding cast that Nikola Jokic has had. So you think Thunder win in 7 games, they keep the same team, Denver adds all these different role players. To me, that means that it should have been a lot closer in the standings than 12 games as far as the difference between those two in the standings. And one of the biggest reasons for the Thunder getting the 1 seed, because the Spurs were right behind them the whole way, was Shai. He was the difference down the stretch. So to me, I think that's the biggest reason why he deserves it, because not only was he the best player on the best team for the 3rd straight year, he made the plays that mattered down the stretch of the regular season that kept them away from the Spurs, who were on fire the second half of the year and were fighting for them for that 1 seed.
Yeah, I agree, Baz. That's how SGA was able to get up to number 1 and win MVP for me. Just delivered in the big moments when it mattered most all year, and Denver had some questionable stretches, and just the more winning elevated for me to pick him.
Yeah, but, and Victor Wembanyama, someone else who, I had him second, you guys all had him third. The fact that he's in this conversation where, if he did somehow magically win this award, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility, I think a lot of people would have him second. For him to maybe be the youngest MVP in NBA history already, would be just something else for a, 60-plus win Spurs team. He's been phenomenal. We've mentioned him, defensive player of the year, but monster offensively, as well. He took a big leap this year. And I put Luka third. I had, Luka over Jokic for this season, for the way that he has just steadily carried that Lakers offense all season long. Obviously, defensively, we know what the deal is, but even he ended up on, Knicks, awards, at the end of last month. So he was picking it up on that end as well. So, I think that, there are definitely a lot of deserving guys this season, but, Shai, I think there's no stopping Shai right now for winning his 2nd straight MVP.
I agree.
We'll see what happens in the playoffs.
Yes, we will. Because at the end of the day, these are the regular season awards. So we'll see what ends up happening. It was super close last year. Think it'll be super close again this year. But overall, Shai wins the MVP. Thank you guys so much again for voting for all the awards, all the fans. Again, determining half of our awards So, definitely impressive, changes the whole course of history, right? So, shout out to the fans. Before we get out of here, of course, we still have our, all NBA, all rookie, and all defensive teams to take a look at. So let's go through all of them. The top 15 players in the league, of course, you have to meet the 65 game requirement. But like I said already, for Luka and Wemby, we are including them because we do think they will end up, making the requirements to get on this list. So all NBA first team, the top 3 MVP guys, in the nominees, plus Luka Doncic and Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. This was a unanimous All-NBA first team from the 3 of us. I think that's definitely clear. These were the top 5 players for this, this season.
I'm just trying to bring up my team so I can check along, see where my agreements and disagreements lie. Obviously not in the top 5. That should be the team then, I would imagine. Congratulations to all those guys.
I said it before, I'll say it again. Jaylen Brown is the best player on that team.
Well,
On the Celtics, at least. Sorry,
that's right.
But on the Celtics, for sure.
Yeah, man. Of course, the big, omission from this because of the missed games was Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons. And that would have been a big time debate to see where he would have ended up. Actually, let's just ask it. Where would you guys have had Cade Cunningham? Would you have had him on All-NBA first team if he was eligible?
I think I would have debated it, but had him top of the second team because Brown just, carrying the Celtics throughout the year, just putting up crazy numbers on offense along with that was, I thought, just a bit even more impressive thing. But yeah, it's fortunate he can't get on these awards. He just barely missed that. It seemed with Anthony Edwards too. It's tough just by a few games just like that. Oh man.
For the All NBA teams, it's the front court, back court, right?
No, positionless.
Oh, it's positionless? Oh, I was just about to say, I thought it would have been front. I still think it's front court, back court. That's my bad. Because I was going to say, I would probably have had Cade at the start of the second team as well. Because I'm like, there's no way I'm taking SGA or Luka off for him.
I'd take
regardless
Jaylen Brown
of
off.
how good Cade was this year, and he was phenomenal. I'm just not putting him over 2 of the top MVP candidates.
Yeah, it's definitely a close one. Looking at the number, I might still go Jaylen Brown, but this definitely is something that I'd have to think about, a lot if he definitely was eligible. But those top 5 guys, we all unanimously picked them. I think they definitely will be the All-NBA first team this year. So again, congrats to all those guys. Second team is where we start to have a little bit of differences here, but a majority of them was the same. So All-NBA second team, we've got Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks, Kevin Durant of the Houston Rockets, Kawhi Leonard from the LA Clippers, Tyrese Maxey of the Philadelphia 76ers, and Donovan Mitchell of the Cleveland Cavaliers. What are your guys' thoughts on the All-NBA second team?
Yeah,
Well,
I'll
start. Well, for me, somehow that was exactly what I had. That I was a bit
same here, Ben.
shocked by
This
that.
bump right there.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, well deserved there for those guys, in my opinion. Like Donovan Mitchell still had a really good year. Yeah, he's like a second team guy to be. Kawhi Leonard, it's been quite impressive the year he's had, carrying the load with the Clippers offense and make big plays down the stretch to win them some good close games this year. And he's played well sometimes on defense too. It's quite impressive how Kawhi, bounced back some more this year. More so looked like the Kawhi mold to get on the second team. Tyrese Maxey too. Like, he sort of had a down year last year with the 76ers, rough year, but then he came back and really bounced back this year and had his best season yet. He put up some big offensive numbers this year. I thought he earned the second team spot off of that.
Yeah, I agree. Maxey leading the league in minutes this year, 5th in the league in scoring. And Kawhi, keep saying it. Career year for this guy at age 34. mean, how often do guys like this have a career year this late into their career? I mean, I think it's really impressive, and I think he, deserves this off the backs of the fact that he single-handedly saved the Clippers from being on the GFF nominees and potentially winning that thing. Because the way it was looking early, they were the clear front runner for the first couple months, but then off of his back, James Harden and then Darius Garland, allowed them to turn it around.
I will say with my voting, again, I thought it was front court and back court, so I kind of misjudged it a little bit. But I did have Donovan, Maxey, and Kawhi in there as the second team because I agree with everything you guys said. I did have Brunson in the third team, but that, again, I thought I could only have two backcourt guys. So I probably would have put Brunson up there. But the one guy I probably would have still kept up there over KD is Jalen Johnson. I was really impressed with Jalen Johnson this year. Took over, I know I talked a lot about Nog this year, but I was just a big fan of how the Hawks completely turned it around from being they're a mid team, they're going to be a play-in, and then all of a sudden they're a really hot team, and we're like, okay, I kind of don't want to play them in the playoffs because they've been on fire recently. And any team that goes into the playoffs on fire, like the Pacers last year, they are a very, very dangerous team. And I think Jalen Johnson, I know they have Nog, Kuminga was a huge addition, Dyson Daniels is still great defensively. They still have a really good team, but he was the first one this year, throughout the year, I think, that just kind of took that step up and is regardless of what's going on, I'm getting mine. I'm going to help us try to win the most I can. And he was throughout the whole year, I kept seeing his highlights, his numbers, him just dropping random triple doubles everywhere. I'm like, this guy is going to be a superstar if he just keeps going like this.
Yeah, the guy that I left off for Kevin Durant that kind of filled that spot that Joey's talking about for me that I was just super impressed by was Jamal Murray this year because he is just outside, if not by the end of the year, going to be inside the top 10 in scoring and assists. And, Joker missed a lot of time this year, and he's shooting 44% from downtown. So I just felt there was no way I could leave him off the second team. And with Durant and the Rockets struggling lately, it made it a little bit easier to move him down.
Yeah, that's my thing also. KD in the offense, as great as KD is, me and Nick saw them firsthand this year when we went to the game. Yeah, KD is phenomenal, but the offense is still not good.
I don't know what you're talking about. The freaking game that we went to, we got smacked by 30.
Oh, I know that game. I was mostly saying, yeah, KD looks fantastic, but throughout the whole season, me watching them, the offense is just outside of KD just looks dysfunctional sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say individually, for age 37 guy, I know this isn't all NBA for 37-year-olds, but for the fact that he still put up, 26, 5 and 5, shooting 52, 41, 88 split, it's still nuts. And he keeps climbing the all-time scoring leader. And I will say, for him being the offensive guy for that team, where would they be without Kevin Durant, this season? He certainly saved them in a lot of different games. Now, sometimes he may have lost them games because of different turnover things, but overall, I think he's had a phenomenal season. But All NBA third team does include the guys that you were, giving love to as well. So All NBA third team, Denny Avdia, our most improved player from the Portland Trail Blazers, Devin Booker from the Phoenix Suns, and James Harden from the Cleveland Cavaliers gets on to join Jalen Johnson and Jamal Murray.
Did anybody have Scotty on their third team?
I had the third team that we have exactly the same on my list. It's funny. It's like a clean thing around the paint. Collectively agrees with Ben X right here with that this year.
That's good stuff.
Yeah,
that's
cool
the smartest
stuff.
person in the room. I got
it.
But
yeah, liked it, of course, and it's cool that two Cleveland Cavaliers are on our, running the paint, thing. Harden obviously started the year in the Clippers. It was great too, which sort of helped in there, but continued to be great on the Cavs, and he came out clutch as a big moment. Sometimes that was cool for James Harden, and James Harden, continues to just do a great job at getting his teammates involved wherever he's been on the Clippers and then on our Cavs this year. So, yeah, it was cool to see him get on there too. And yeah, Devin Booker and Daddy Avdia just snuck on our list. Scotty could have been good too, but I thought Denny was just slightly better to get on there. And Devin Booker had a big year with, leading the Suns and keeping them in the playoff picture all year, which was great for him.
Yeah, Denny is lucky that he got on. It came down to a random number generator where I did him versus Scotty, like best out of 10, and Denny got it because we were split on the voting. So I mean, essentially, it's Denny / Barnes for the last spot, but gotta pick one for the top 15, and definitely both those guys deserving. I feel like both of those guys had very similar seasons for their respective teams. Like personally, I feel like if you swapped their roles for their respective teams, feel like a lot stays the same, personally. But, overall, the only differences I had are that I had Scotty Barnes on there and actually was wrong. I said that I cut this guy. I actually did have Jalen Duren on my All-NBA third team because it does feel a little strange, doing this. Of course, Cade ineligible, but not having a Piston on the All-NBA teams does kind of feel a little bit wrong here for the season that they had. So I did. Yeah, I did end up putting Duren on. I did leave Devin Booker off, but he has had a phenomenal year.
I said you could put Dennis Jenkins on, Miles.
I was just about to say you put Dennis Jenkins on there. Honestly, well deserved.
What about did Nick, Joe? You guys have any other players that didn't really get love on here?
Mine's kind of screwed. Like I said, I put front court, back court, so mine's a little skewed. I probably would have had the same if I was just smart and looked up the rule.
I considered Towns, but
yeah, I also had Cat in the third team just because of it.
Yeah, I just didn't think he had good enough of a year.
I know he had a down year and he's not up to his potential, but like him having a down year is still like potential All-NBA team, especially with all the injuries and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
This year.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just think when like Nick, I know it was between Towns and Harden for your final spot. I just think when you take a look at those two guys and you end up picking Harden, and I think that was the correct choice because when you think of them fully giving their respective teams what they needed, I think Harden gave the Cavs exactly what they needed, exactly when they needed it. Of course, we'll see in the playoffs how that turns around for both of those individual players.
Yep.
But, at the end of the day, ends up being our All-NBA third team. So there are our top 15 players in the NBA this season. Now, quickly, our final few teams, we have all rookie and all defensive teams. Let's see, our all defensive teams. We'll go with all defensive first team. We have our top three, of course, nominees from Defensive Player of the Year with Chet, Gobert, and Wemby. Then Scotty Barnes from the Toronto Raptors, and then Asar Thompson from the Detroit Pistons. The second team features Amen Thompson, Donovan Clingan from the Trailblazers, Dyson Daniels from the Atlanta Hawks, Cason Wallace from the Thunder, and Derek White from the Celtics. What are your guys' thoughts on our all-defensive teams?
There are only two guys I'd throw out for honorable mentions that I didn't hear called that I had on my second team, and that was Steph Castle of the award-winning San Antonio Spurs and OG Anunoby, who's had a really good impact on their end this year, one of the best wing defenders in the league. Wait, was Amen on there?
Yes.
All right, just making sure.
I switched Amen and Asar Thompson, but again, they're both kind of interchangeable. They both had fantastic years. And based on how we kind of did the Pistons dirty on the All-NBA teams, not mad about putting Asar in the all-defensive first team. Not mad about that one bit.
Yeah, I think my only switch is that I had I gave Evan Mobley some love on all defensive second team because I think this was his best year as a shot blocker, as a former defensive player of the year.
For sure.
And I think there are other, there was some to be desired as a team defensively, but I think that he was still did a very good job this season. But any other guys that you guys gave love to?
Of course, Ben got them all right again.
I had Jalen Duran, Keita on my second team. I was impressed with how Keita stepped up, plays a good defense of the Celtics, and helped boost their interior defense and kept them, hanging in there all right to place a good defense throughout the year. And I still Durham because he's really improved on offense. That's obviously where he took his big leap, as we mentioned, but he's still a pretty good defender, good shot blocker, and can grab you a nice amount of rebounds still on the Pistons.
Yeah, I'm glad that the Thunder, Celtics, and Pistons all got lots of love on these all defensive teams, because that certainly is where they deserve their recognition for the seasons that they have put together here. And shout out to Donovan Clingan too. Ben, you had him on your first team, so he ends up making the second team. None of us ended up voting him for second team, but ends up making it because of the first team vote, and definitely well deserved. I mean, for a very good Trailblazer defense, he's the one down there in the middle, ending possessions by getting rebounds and at a 7-3 frame, definitely deterring shots down low.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good pick.
Yeah, for sure. All right, our all rookie teams to close out our award show. BJ Edgecombe, Cooper Flag, Con Knipple, of course, our top 3 rookie of the year nominees. And then Dylan Harper from the San Antonio Spurs. They get another one on here. And then Derek Queen from the New Orleans Pelicans. And then our all rookie second team, Ace Bailey from the Utah Jazz, Cedric Coward from the Memphis Grizzlies, Jeremiah Fears from the Pelicans, Trey Johnson from the Washington Wizards, and Maxime Reynaud gets in from the GFF Sacramento Kings.
Let's go, Maxime. That's exactly who I had. That's exactly both my rookie teams.
Same thing here.
The only reason why the New Orleans Pelicans also did not get GFF this year is because of that man, Derek Queen. Because they traded for him or traded for that pick, and that's why they don't have that first round pick this year. And he could turn into a bona fide superstar. That's the only reason they're not there, because he is a baller.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, looking through all these, I guess first, overall, this is just a great rookie class overall. Like, Nick, I know you're someone that is heavily involved with, looking at all these prospects coming into the league. I mean, Nick, they all had really good seasons in just their first year. Did you expect this many players to play this well in their first year?
Not this well. Not like Con breaking records and Cooper dropping 49 and 50 balls. But like the top 8 guys on our lists here, like Trey, Ace, Queen, Fears, like they were all highly touted prospects coming in as well. Harper and all them. The guys who surprised me are like Maxine and the Cedric Coward, even like Kalkbrenner. I had a lot of questions about coming in because he couldn't really move that well and stuff, but he's been really good for Charlotte. A couple of duds, haven't really seen much of Common Malawak down in there in Phoenix yet. I think he's G Leaguing it right now, but obviously still got some time to figure it out. But yeah, really very impressive rookie class for sure. The depth is really the standout part of it.
And do we all agree that Cooper Flag is probably going to be the best player out of those 5 years, or do we think in 5 years' time, best player out of this class, or do we think Yang Hansen comes in and takes
it? I knew there was going to be a Yang shout out. But no, as far as the best player in 5 years, I mean, I would probably think so. I mean, the fact that he's been putting up 40s and 50s already, is just really impressive. I think he will end up being the best player.
With not a good shot either, like a very inconsistent shot. He's already dropping 50 at 19 years old.
Yeah, on a bad team. Like, it's just very impressive, stuff that he's doing. It's just interesting now that we've gone through, all these, awards and these teams now. If I'm not mistaken, I think there are 4 teams that didn't ever receive a mention throughout this, as far as getting recognition for an award. And I believe it's the Bulls, the Nets, the Pacers, and the Warriors. I don't think any of them got a single, recognition from these awards. And I think that's it. I think every other team at least got something today.
The Magic.
That's how it should be.
No, the Magic. You're right. You're right.
That's how it should be. That's really how it should be, because those teams aren't good.
Well, Orlando's still being in the play. I mean, they have just had I think the biggest disappointing year in the league this year.
I think it's shocking we haven't heard that Jamal Mosley got fired yet. I thought we would for sure be breaking that news today before the playoffs started.
Yeah, that seems like that's a end of the first round or whenever they get eliminated, sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, gosh, when we'll get to them when we get to that news, but for them to in the offseason trade 4 first-round picks to make their finishing move to get Desmond Bane and still be in the play-in and us not have much hope for that is just that's not good. So, but either way, all that is it for the 2026 Run in the Paint Awards. Congrats to all these players and the Sacramento Kings for getting, these honors and dishonor today. That's absolutely fantastic. Another one down the books, guys. What were your overall thoughts on how we did today?
I think we set a record. Longest pod so far on the channel.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Hopefully,
that's right.
Hopefully we kept you up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we learned that Ben might be the smartest guy on the planet, especially when it comes to NBA ball knowledge. Because I feel like for every all NBA team, all the defensive teams, like every single one that was on Ben's just like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I voted.
So we'll see what actually happens in real life, because that'll be the thing. Again, the numbers on it, we shoot about 71% per season, or I guess total so far. This is our 3rd year doing this, so we'll see if we can increase that percentage this year. I hope we can. I think we can. All I know is that we're shooting 100% on the GFF award, because
100%.
For sure. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to tune in on Tuesday for the first postseason edition of the podcast, where we will be previewing and predicting all the play-in matchups. Again, still have no idea what any of them are yet. Cannot wait to see what ends up happening over this final weekend of the regular season. You guys have anything else before we get out of here?
I can't wait for the recaps.
Oh, yeah. They're coming back, baby. They're coming back. So make sure to stay tuned in, lock in. Make sure to like the video, subscribe for more NBA postseason content, because it's right around the corner. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.